So when you forgive your parents, your inner child, and the people that harm you, you're not forgiving them. You're forgiving yourself. In that moment, you open your heart and you throw away all the hate, all the resentment, and all the poison that been eating you for years. And in that moment, it's like you have a string with a balloon, and you cut the string and let the balloon go. You're free.
Welcome to the Divine Hangout. I'm your host, Hillary Jubilee. It is my intention that when you listen to this podcast, you experience an increase in peace, abundance, and divine miracles in your life experience. If you love all things spirituality, wellness, healing, manifestation, and miracles, you are in the exact right place at the exact right time. Let's enter the portal together. Welcome back, everyone, to the Divine Hangout. Today, I am joined by Carlos Vivas. Thank you so much for joining us, Carlos. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Thank you so much for inviting me to your program, Hillary. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you.
Yay. Okay, so let's start. Maybe if you could just go over your spiritual upbringing. I know that you had, we're going to talk about your near-death experience, but I wanted to maybe touch on, because it sounds like from your book that you had an experience when you were a teenager. I wonder if you could touch on that along with your spiritual upbringing.
Okay, well, for people that don't know me, my name is Carlos Vivas. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, here in the United States. And this is my story. So when I was 14 years old, I was diagnosed with a terminal cancer, leukemia. How that happened? So one day I was going to school. I started feeling bad. I didn't want to say anything to my parents because I used to study in a Catholic school. Catholic schools in the 80s and 90s were very, very strict. And my mom never wanted me to lose a day at school. So it was like almost impossible for me to say something and skip school. So I was thinking to myself, I'm feeling really bad, but if I say something to my mom, she's gonna think that I'm making this up, and I don't want her to think that. So maybe this is gonna pass. So I'm just gonna swallow it up, and maybe in 2 3 days it's gonna disappear. I was a kid, so day and day was passing and passing. I was feeling worse and worse and worse. And one day, I was at the bus stop, waiting for the bus to go to school, and I have a blackout. So I almost fade to the floor. I stand up. I say, "Okay, something's really bad's going to happen to me. Maybe I'm going to die, and nobody's going to know what happened to me." So tonight, I have to speak with my mom and tell her that something really is going on. So that night, when she came back from work, I said, "Mom, I need to talk to you. This is serious. This is not. I'm not playing with this. Something really bad is happening to me. I'm feeling very, very dizzy, and we need to go to a doctor because I've been feeling this for weeks, and it's not leaving my body. And let's go and see some doctor." So my mom said, "Okay, let's talk with your dad, and we're gonna start going to doctors." So, make the story short, we went to 10 doctors. All the doctors, they didn't know what I had. They did a lot of tests, a lot of exams, and they said, "I don't know what you have, but you need to see a hematologist." The hematologist is somebody that's going to check your blood and is going to tell you what you really have. So at the end, we left the hematologist to the end because it was the most expensive doctor. At that time, I didn't have insurance. I was a kid, but and my dad said, "Okay, let's." At the end, he said, "Let's go to the hematologist and let's see what he's gonna say." So we go to this hematologist, and when we get there, he said, "Okay, so let's take some samples." He took samples from my finger. He came back to sample from my arm. Then he came back and said, "These samples doesn't convince me. You are too young for this. Let me do the last sample. It's gonna be in your bag." So he went to my bag. He put 5 shots of anesthesia. I didn't know what he was doing because he didn't tell me. He spoke with my parents, and then he said, "Go to my little room, wait for me there. I'm gonna do the last test there." I said, "Okay, cool." So I go to his room. Then he come 15 minutes later with 2 nurses, and he said, "Carlos, just face the wall, take the shirt off. I'm gonna do the last test in your bag." So in that moment, I hear that he grabbed some cotton with alcohol and he started rubbing my back. I said, like, what he's gonna do? And then I hear a drill, like, like a dentist, and he's like, he started drilling my back. I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, relax, Carlos, everything's gonna be fine. This is gonna be quick. Don't worry, don't move, please. You need to be like completely calm down, okay? Everything's gonna be fine. So he started drilling my back. It didn't hurt me at all because, like I said, he put me like 5 shots of anesthesia in my back. And then when he finished, he takes some samples, and then he put some rubber alcohol in the bag, and he put a band-aid. And he said, okay, now you're fine. Everything was good. I need you to go with your parents, wait for me. Then 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes pass, and then the doctor say, okay, I got the results. You guys come to my office. I need to talk to you. I don't have too good news for you. So come on. So I go to the office. He sit down on his desk. He have like a little glass with some like red cotton inside. I didn't know what it was that. And he said, this is the biopsy of the bone marrow. And that was my last test, Carlos. And he looked at me. He was the desk, my mom, my dad, and I was behind my mom and my dad. And the doctor said, I'm sorry, Carlos. He looked at me and said, but you have 3 months to live. I said, 3 months to live? Like, what are you talking about? And then he said, well, you have a terminal illness, and I'm sorry, but you guys came too late, and it's nothing that I can do right now. I'm the best doctor in this matter, and I'm sorry, but it's terminal, and it's nothing we can do now. And then in that moment, I heard a voice inside of me that said, he don't have the last word. I had. And I was like, what was that? I didn't want to say anything to my mom because my mom was very strict, and I know she's gonna slap me on my face because she's gonna think I'm just making it up, or I don't know. I just trying to laugh at the situation. So I didn't say anything. I just took it to myself. Took it to myself. So the doctor said, well, Carlos, I'm sorry. So in that moment, my mom started crying, my dad started crying. I feel horrible in the background. I'm thinking to myself, like, what I have done to deserve this, like, why this is happening to me. I'm just a good person. And then my mom grabbed the doctor by the chair and it's like, you're going to save my son. You're going to save my son. And the doctor, lady, calm down, calm down. So I'm like, no, my son's not going to die. You're going to do anything in the world to save my son. You have daughters and you have sons and you're going to save him, right? And the doctor, calm down, lady, calm down, sit down. So my mom sit down, and the doctor said, I have two options. And my mom said, what is the option? So, well, number one, we can travel to Houston, Texas, and do a bone marrow transplant, and that could cure the leukemia that he had. And number two, uh, we can go to France and get some medicine that I'm doing with another doctors, and maybe that will work. So my mom said, okay, let's go with the first one. How much is going to cost to go to bring Carlos to Houston, Texas? And the doctor said, well, it's going to be very expensive. You're going to have to sell your house, your cars, and everything you have in order to pay for the surgery because you don't have insurance. You're going to have to cover everything from your own. And my mom said, if I do all that, will you save my son? And the doctor said, I'm sorry, I don't think so. It's going to be 50-50 chance. Nobody knows. My mom said, I don't like that one. The second one is like go to France, get the pills, and bring it to Carlos. I said, okay, I'll take that one. So my mom used to work at the Air Force. One of her colleagues go to France, grab the pills, bring it to my house, and I start the treatment. So the doctor said this treatment is going to take 3 months. I start taking the pills. The name of the pills called Android. I remember because when the phones Android came out, I was like, wow, look, it looks the same as my pills. It was like little yellow pills. I started drinking it, and it was like a little chemotherapy. And the first month passed, and the doctor sent me back to the hospital. They start doing studies and checking me in and everything. And the doctor said to mom, I'm sorry, it's not working the way that I was expecting. So we need to finish the whole treatment with Carlos to see what's going on. Then my mom go back home. She's crying. My dad's crying. The whole family's calling, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, he's gonna die," and blah blah blah. But I didn't want to take any calls, and I start thinking to myself, like, "I'm gonna die? No, no, this is not possible." And one day I was by myself at home, and I started thinking, like, "God, help me, help me! There have to be something else." And then I have an idea. We have a uncle. He's like Donald Trump, that he is a real estate investor, and he built like residence, malls, buildings, and all that. And I say, what about if we get the money from my uncle and then we pay for the surgery? So I go with my mom and say, Mom, I have an idea. What about if we call my uncle and we ask for the money and blah, blah, blah? And my mom's like, oh, no, you don't know your uncle. So I don't want you to call him. But Mom, it's my life. I'm going to die. So I'm like, no, 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 no. You don't know him. I don't want to bother him. No. I was like, okay. Then my mom's go to work, my dad go to work, and then I'm by myself at home and I say, wait a minute, I'm gonna die. She's not gonna die. I'm gonna die. So in that moment I said, you know what? I'm gonna call my uncle. So I call my uncle and I say, Uncle, hey, it's Carlos, how you doing? Hey uncle, I have a problem. I just want to check with you if you can help me. We need to do the surgery in Houston, Texas, and we need this amount of money. Do you think you can borrow the money? And I swear to God, I'm gonna work all my life to pay you this back. And my uncle said, I'm sorry, Carlos, I cannot help you. He hung up the phone. As soon as he hung up the phone, I feel like my whole world turned black. I said, okay, so I guess I'm gonna die. There is nothing else to do. But in that moment, I start feeling heat all over my body. And I was like, wait a minute. Something came to my head. I was like, I'm studying a Catholic school and they say there is a God. And if you ask God from the bottom of your heart, and if you have the faith of like a little piece of mustard seed, you can get cured. So in that moment, I said, you know what, God? I looked up and I said, what about we do a deal right here? What about if you save me from this cancer and I'm going to tell the whole world that you're real because there's a lot of people that don't believe in you. But if you cure me, I'm going to be a living proof that you're real, you know? And from that day, I feel super good in my heart. I feel a sensation of like calmness all over me. The heat came again all over my body, and I feel that was the right thing to do. So I started praying. I started doing visualizations. I was 14 years old, but this came to me to imagine that all the cells in my body were healing. I start saying every day, like, thank you for my healing. Thank you for my healing. I start praying all day, like, thank you, God. Everything's going to be fine. I can see myself graduating at the university, having a job, buying a house, having a life like anybody else, you know? So I was imagining my future and it's like, yeah, I'm going to fight for that. I'm going to have all that. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Made the story short. 3 months later, the doctor called my mom and said, okay, it's time for Carlos to come back to the hospital. So we need to put him on a CT scan. That's the last test that we're going to take on him. So he put me on the CT scan. And when the results came out of the CT scan, guess what? The whole cancer disappeared. So the doctor, he said to my mom, I don't know what happened. Everything is blank. And my mom was like, oh my God, this is a miracle. Thank you, God. This is a miracle. And the doctor, no, lady, this is not a miracle. This is called remission. Remission is when the whole cancer disappear because we put too many chemicals in the body of your son. And then the cancer is going to come back more aggressive. And in that moment, I heard the voice inside of me saying, this is not going to happen again. And from that moment till today, I'd be free of cancer. Do you have any question
Amazing.
on that?
No, that's it is a miracle, but you knew it inside. So
Yes, and I tell the people, when they get diagnosed with cancer or another terminal illness, don't accept
yeah.
the illness, okay? Because you have a power inside of you, and you
Mm,
can fight. And that's what I did in that moment. I said, like, no, I don't want to die. I'm going to fight this, and I'm going
yeah.
to get this. And through prayer and through visualizations and everything that I did, that's how I overcome this. And everybody can do it. I'm nobody special, just like a regular guy, so like anybody else. So
Thank you for telling that story.
thank you.
Beautiful. Okay, let's dive into the main event now. If you want, tell the
Okay.
tell the story of your near your
Near
I guess
death
yeah,
experience.
your death
Okay. So my near death experience happened in 2015. One morning I wake up in my house. I was super happy. I opened the windows. It was sunny. I sit down on my couch. I turned the TV on, and guess what? When I look in the TV, was the news, and there were passing images of a massacre in a school. They killed some kids. And in that moment, I feel super bad. And I said, you know what, God? This is it for me. I turned off the TV off and I said, this cannot be happening anymore. You know how many shootings happened in the United States just this year? Into 2023, we have 188 shootings outside right now. So this is crazy. So at that time in 2015, I said to myself, like, if you don't show up right now and tell me what's going on and why these innocent people have to die, I don't want to believe in you anymore. So come on, show up and tell me. Of course, I never thought that it's gonna happen. I thought just me. And in that moment, my phone rings. One of my best friends, Jorge Mario, he called me and said, Carlos, what are you doing right now? I said, like, no, I'm here at home just watching the news. I said, like, what are you going to do next week? And it's Memorial Day. I said, nothing. Why? I said, well, my family and me, we want to go to the beach. We want to go to Florida and Panama City Beach. You want to come with us? I said, sure, let's go. So that weekend, we traveled to Panama City and we started going to the first beach. It was packed. Second beach was packed. Third beach was packed, and I said all the parking lots were full. And I said to my friend, you know what? Everything's gonna be like this because it's a holiday. But what about I know the place that is an island in the middle of the ocean? It's called Shell Island, and you have to pay $20 to go there. So I don't think all the families want to pay $20 to go to this island. So let's go to a marina at the hotel that I always go, and we can go from there. I said, okay, cool. So I drove to the marina, and when I get there, it said closed for renovation. So closed for renovation Memorial Day. That's crazy. So okay, let's go to another marina. Second marina, close. Third marina, go, close. I was like, this is crazy. So I said, okay, you know what? Let me grab my phone and type that. So I said, Google, take me to another marina. And Google said, you don't have permission to navigate on internet. I said, like, what? Then I grabbed my phone from work and I said, okay, Siri, take me to another marina. And the Siri said, you don't have permission to navigate on internet. So like, what? No, Google, no Siri. I said, okay, everybody look my phone, so I'm not crazy. So can anybody else grab their phone and look for another marina? So my friend said, like, Carlos, I found a marina. It's on a national park. It's called San Andreas State Park. Let's go there. I said, okay, cool. So we drove there. We paid the $8 to get in. Then we get a shuttle that took us to a marina. From the marina, we get the catamaran. You know what's a catamaran? It's a big boat. And the catamaran took us to the island. When we arrived to the island, it was a sunny day, blue skies, blue waters. It was beautiful, crystal waters. Um, Panama City is very known for the crystal water. It's called the Emerald waters. It's called the Gulf of Mexico because the water looks like Mexico, like Cancun. Beautiful. So when we arrived there, the base side of the island was packed with families. So my friend, look, Carlos, this is full too. I said, like, you know what? Let's go to the back. The back is open ocean. Nobody wants to go there. I said, okay, cool. So we jump off the boat. We start walking in front of the island with all the families. And when we're half away, there is a guy with 5 kids. And the guy, excuse me, sir, excuse me, where do you think you're going? I said, like, sir, I'm going to the other side of the island. So like, why? Don't you think that all the families are here? That is dangerous. There is not rocks that close the bayside. It's open ocean. I said, yeah, I know. Nothing's gonna happen, sir. Believe me, everything's gonna be fine. So okay, just be careful. So we don't pay attention to that and we're still walking. We get to the back of the island. When we get to the back of the island, I have a big tent. I start opening the tent, then the wind start blowing like really harsh. And for 45 minutes, we're fighting with the wind, trying to put the tent down. The tent opened like a parachute, and we're trying and trying and trying until one of my friends brings some rocks and put it in every corner. And finally, the tent stands still there. So we open chairs, we open the food and the cans for drinks and all that, and we stay there from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Around 4 p.m., my friend said, Carlos, we're going to walk around the island. Do you want to come with us? And so, like, no, guys, you guys go because I've been coming here for years, so I know this island. So they left. I was by myself. There was nobody around. And I make the mistake that I tell people don't do it. If you're going to the beach, don't jump to the beach by yourself without nobody watching because you don't know the dangers of the beach. I didn't know there was a danger of the beach. And I'm not afraid to swim because I used to be on a swimming team when I was a child, so I swim all the time. Anyways, I jump into the water, I start swimming, and then out of the sudden, this whirlpool under the water grabbed me and throw me far, far away. How I explain this to people? If you watch the movie Finding Nemo, there is a Australian current that is like a tunnel under the water that suck like a vacuum all the fishes and throw it far, far away. So the same thing happened to me. So when this vacuum pulled me far, far away, minutes later I open my eyes and go up and breathe again. And when I looked to the island, I was super far away, like half a mile away. It's like, how in the world am I here? What happened? I said, okay, I'm gonna panic. I'm gonna swim back to the island. So I start swimming and swimming and swimming. And guess what? Every time that I pulled my head out of the water, I was farther and farther and farther. So like, what's going on? What is this happening? So I swim even faster, faster, faster. Nothing. 15, 20, 30 minutes past, nothing. I still in the same place. Why? Because the riptide is still pulling me in. I didn't know you have to let this uh like swim left or right, or I didn't know what to do in that moment. So after 30 minutes, I started getting cramps on my arms, on my legs, and I knew in that moment, this is it. I'm gonna die here. There is nobody's gonna listen to me. The last boat is gonna leave at 5:30. So before I die, I'm just gonna speak with God. So in that moment, I say, okay, God, I never in a million years thought that today is gonna be my last day, but I want to say thank you. Before you take me, I want to say thank you. Thank you for my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters. Thank you for everything you gave me, and I'm sorry if I did something wrong. As soon as I said that, I heard a voice behind me that said, ask for help. And I look back and I don't see anyone. I was like, what? I said, no, this is my imagination. And then I heard the voice for a second time, ask for help. And I said, are you kidding me? Is anybody here? Could you help me, please? Like, oh my God. I don't see anything, just the water and the wind. And then for the third time, I heard, I told you to ask for help. I was like, okay, okay. There is no way in the whole world that I'm going to get out of here. But if you want me to ask for help, I will ask for help. So I started waving, help, 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 help. At the end of the island, one of my friends, Enrique, he came out of the group because he felt something was wrong. He have the sixth sense that says something is going on. So he went back to the tank. He didn't saw me there. He went to the beach. He didn't saw me at the beach. He went to the top of a hill and he saw me from the hill. So when he saw me, he started jumping. Carlos, Carlos, I'm gonna call 911. Hold on, hold on. So he come out of the hill. He go back to the tent and instead of calling 911, he grabbed some tubings and he go back to the top and he started dropping the tubings from the top. But remember, I'm half a mile away into the ocean. So every time that he dropped the tubings, the wind bring the tubings back to him, to his face. So he's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Then he's like, hold on, hold on, hold on. So then he would get down of the hill and he go back to the other side of the island. He start bringing people that was boarding the boats that were going back to Panama City. So a lot of people show up. Six guys jump from the hill, the rock of hill, and everybody's coming my way to save me. And then 5 minutes pass. They cannot get me. 10 minutes, and then everybody starts turning around. I said, like, why are they turning around? And then I hear a thunder, boom, and then a lightning behind me. When I look back, a big thunderstorm was coming behind me. And I say, you know what? This is it. I mean, they don't want to risk their life for me. They're just turning around, so nobody's going to rescue me, so I better surrender. And that's what I did in that moment. I said, you know what? I'm just going to surrender, God. From this moment, do whatever you want. I don't want to fight anymore. And in this moment, I always said to people, how many times in your life you are suffering with cancer, with fighting with your husband, with your sons, with your wife, with your family, with your friends, with your work, and you don't know what to do. And the only thing that you have to do is surrender. So when you cannot do anything, you surrender and let God take over, and you will see how the situation will change. And that's what I did in that moment. When I say surrender, a huge wave came and crushed me all the way into the ocean. And when I was under the water, I opened my eyes and I see this black shadow that's coming my way. And I was like, what is that? A shark? Oh my God. So that's what I thought because I saw the shadow. So I covered my face, waiting for the bite. And this thing was coming super fast. I was like, ah, ah, ah. But when the thing grabbed me by my stomach and pushed me all the way up. And when I get all the way up the top, when I see this, I couldn't believe what it was. It was a big, great dolphin. So I grabbed the dolphin by the tail and I start crying. I start looking the dolphin eye and it's like, how in the world you know that I'm dying here? And why did you save me? Like, how did you save me? Like, and the dolphin was just looking at me like, you're not this human, you know. And I was like, I mean, I was amazed. I was in shock. It was amazing. So I stayed with the dolphin for 10 minutes. He didn't move. He just was there floating with me. And then 10 minutes later, a feature boat showed up in front of me, and he said, "Son, I can save you, but I cannot get close to you because the wave from the thunderstorm, they are so big. I'm gonna hit you with my boat, so I'm gonna throw you a rope." So he threw me a rope. I go to the boat. The dolphin is still next to me. And when I get to the boat, I just get air like, because I was super tired there. And then the guy starts screaming at me, like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I said, like, "What are you talking, sir?" I said, like, "You need to get in now." I said, like, "Why?" He said, "My body's sinking." I said, "Your body's sinking? What are you talking about?" I said, "I have a pump and the pump is stopped. And all the way from the thunderstorm, they're getting in. So you need to hurry up and get in. Go to the back. There's some steps in the water and jump in. We need to get out of here right away." I said, "Okay, go, sir." So I go to the back of the boat. I see the steps. I jump in. When I jump in, the water was like this inside of the boat. I said, like, "Sir, do you have any bucket? Let me take the water out." I said, like, "No, no, no, no. We don't have time for that. Come on, sit down next to me." So I sit down next to him. He put a towel over me. "Okay, son, are you okay?" I said, "Yes, sir." "What happened?" I said, "Well, a current brought me all the way here." "And where's your family and friends?" "Everybody's there." And then he said, "Let me ask you a question. Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Atlanta, Georgia." "What about you, sir?" So I'm from Atlanta, Georgia too. "What part?" I said, "I'm from Duluth." And he said, "I'm from Norcross." Duluth and Norcross and in front of each other. So we were like neighbors. I was like, "This is crazy. We're from Georgia, we're in Florida, and you rescue me and we're neighbors back in Georgia." So it's crazy. And in that moment, he said, like, "Oh my God, look behind you, look behind you." So like, "What are you talking about?" So when I looked behind me, he couldn't believe it. The dolphin started jumping behind of the boat. It's like, "Oh my God, oh my God." So the dolphin follows us all the way around the island until we get to the bayside. When we get to the bayside, the guy said, "Okay, son, I have to leave you right here because I need to fix my boat. But if you want to see me again, every Memorial Day, I'm going to come here so you can find my boat. So God bless you and take care of yourself." Okay. I said, "Thank you, sir. God bless you too." I jump off the boat. I start walking to the shore. In the shore, nobody was there because everybody was trying to save me on the other side. So when I start walking on the shore, something hit my leg. When I look back, the dolphin was behind me. And when I see the dolphin, I was like, "What?" Like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it was like a dog just followed me. And then when I get to the shore, I go on my knees. I'm completely broken inside. I'm shocked. And I go on my knees and I make a promise right there. I say, "You know what, God? If you save me with this dolphin right here, it's because you have a purpose for my life. I don't know what do you want from me, but I'm going to tell you something. From today, Carlos died into the ocean. The person who's coming out of the water is going to be you. From today, I want you to take over my life, over my soul, over my body. And whatever you have to do, do it through me." And in that moment, it started lightning, thundering, and start raining. As soon as this started happening, the dolphin leave, the police arrive, everybody come from the other side of the island, all my friends, everybody start hugging me, crying. And they take me back to the island. The management of the island take me to an office and say, "What happened?" So what happened is like you have to be more careful on these holidays. You need to bring lifesavers to the island. You know, these people is paying for that. You need to put signs of red flag, like the ocean is dangerous to get in. You need to put signs of what is a riptide so people know what is a riptide. And they promise, "Yeah, I'm sorry, we're gonna work on that. Don't worry." I said, "Okay." After that, my friends asked me, "Carlos, what do you want to do now?" I said, "Let's go to a church because this was a miracle." So we get out of the National Park, San Andrew, and the first church that we saw was in a Catholic church. So we stopped there. When we're trying to get inside of the Catholic church was closed, but as one of my friends said, "Don't worry because there's a chapel outside. We can pray outside." So the chapel was like a cave, and inside of the cave had Virgin Fatima inside. And we did a circle. Everybody that came from the beach, from my friends too, we did a big circle outside of this cave and in and out, and we hug each other, everybody. And as soon as we hug each other, we start praying. and we prayed for like 20, 25 minutes. After that, my friends, what do you want to do? I said, I just want to go back to the hotel, take a shower, and go to sleep. I went back to the hotel, took a shower, get a little something to eat. I went to sleep, and as soon as I put my head on my pillow, I have an epiphany. I didn't know what epiphany was. So it was like a vision. In this vision, I was on the third floor of a cruise in the Caribbean. So when I open my eyes, I see I'm in the middle of the ocean, blue skies, blue ocean, sunny days, beautiful. But then at the end of the ocean, I see a tsunami rising. And the tsunami is coming my way. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. So I cover my eyes, like, oh, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes pass, nothing happens. Like, what's going on? What's going on? And then somebody come behind me and say, like, Carlos, wake up, look at my face. I was like, no, 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 we're about to die. Look, look. And then he said, Carlos, you're never gonna die with me. I said, like, who are you? I said, look at me. I said, like, no, I'm afraid. Look at me. And I take my hands on my face. I look back. I couldn't see his face because from his face was light coming out. He was taller than me, dressing white. And then he said, Carlos, close your eyes. Wait. So I closed my eyes. He hugged me from behind. And then 10 seconds later, he said, okay, open your eyes. So I opened my eyes. And what I have in front of me is heaven. So it was like an infinity golf course. Millions of people in front of me dressing white robes. Everybody was glowing. It was like green grass, beautiful. And then he said, Carlos, welcome to heaven. And I said, you're Jesus? Like, Jesus, like, this mean that I'm dead? Like, I cannot die right now. I have a lot to do. You have to take me back. I cannot get here. And then he said, Carlos, you make a promise to me and you need to fulfill your promise. Welcome to heaven. From today, you are start walking with me and walking with all of them. From today, you're part of me and part of all of them. Do you have any questions? I said, like, yes. Where all these people came from? And he said, they're coming from all over the world, Carlos. Do you have another question? I said, like, yes. What is the true religion? There is 50,000 religions all over the world. So I just want to know what is the real religion. And he said, the only thing that I can tell you is when you come to heaven, there is no religions. When you come to heaven, what you're going to find is the love of God. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. And that's what he unite the whole humanity in one. And that's what you need to know. Now, let me give you a life review. So he put his arm over me and we start walking in heaven. And then after he finished my life review, he said, now you need to go down, back, and tell people what happened here. So, okay. So I went down. Next morning, I wake up and I said, what a dream I had. Anyways, I didn't pay attention too much to the dream. I know it was different than other dreams. So Monday, I go back to work. I've been working in my office for 20 years. So I work with three more managers. And when I get to the office, I say, guys, guess what happened to me this week? And I went to Florida. I jumped on the beach. A dolphin saved me. And they were like, you're right. A dolphin saved you, Carlos. And then somebody behind me said, I believe you. I was like, what? So I looked back, it was my boss. I said, like, why you believe me and they don't believe me? And my boss said, because all of them, they're atheists. I'm a Christian. Number two, I want you to go on your computer and Google how many people die every year in the United States by riptides. So when I Google, around 114 people die every year. It's called the silent killer because they just suck the people and they disappear. I said, like, wow. Then my boss said, now Google how many people have been saved by dolphins all over the world in history. Then I Google it. A bunch of people have been saved by dolphins in history. I didn't know that neither. Then he said, now Google the dolphin is still saving people, and now Google how many dolphins get killed in Asia every year. I was like, what? So I Googled that. 100,000 dolphins get killed in Asia every year. And then he said, now Google what is the meaning of the dolphin for Christians. I was like, what? So I Googled that, and he said, the dolphin represents Jesus. Is the hope of eternal life. I was like, what? Like, I never in a million years would think that the dolphin represents Jesus, right? Well, that happened on Monday. On Wednesday, I'm a quality assurance manager, so I have to go to customer houses to see the quality of what my employees are doing. So I get to this house, 1970 house. The customer is cooking some pasta in the kitchen, and she said, Carlos, I'm very busy right now. Could you do me a favor? Go to the basement, turn on the lights, go to the last room. At the end of the hallway, you're going to see a lamp, a gold lamp in the corner. And that's the lamp that you guys broke. Is any way you can fix it or buy me a new one? I said, sure, let me go down. Let me take a look. So I go down to the basement. I start turning the lights. And when I get to the last room and turn the light, I see the gold lamp in the corner. And guess what? On the front of at the end of the room, it was a huge painting on the wall. And that painting was all my epiphany was painting on the wall. So it was heaven, millions of people in the background. Jesus was in the middle, and at the bottom of Jesus was dolphins, and the ocean at the bottom of Jesus. So he was like floating in the ocean. So I started crying because this was very overwhelming for me. So in that moment, I understood that this wasn't a dream. This was something real. And I start crying. It's like, this is too much, God. Like, wow, no, this is too much. So the customer come down. It's like, Carlos, are you okay? What happened? I said, like, excuse me, man, where did you get this painting from? This is crazy. I was like 3 days there on an epiphany and you have it right here. I said, well, a friend of my family 2 years ago brought that here. And just let me turn the lights so you can see the whole thing. So as you turn the lights, I admired the painting for like an hour. And after that, I went back to work. That happened on Wednesday. On Thursday, I called my best friend and he said, like, Carlos, you need to come to my house. We need to go to church. You need to tell the testimony to people. People need to know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, are you kidding me? Do you think I'm going to tell this story to people? You know how many haters are out there? You know how many fanatics are out there? Like, they're going to, no, I will never say that story to anybody. No. I was like, come on, Carlos, you need to do it for the people that's going to believe it. You know, people need this right now. You know how in the planet, everything that is happening, people need to know that more stuff, divine intervention that are happening right now. I was like, okay. So after an hour, he convinced me. I said, okay, on Sunday I go to your house. So I live 1 hour away from his house. On Sunday, I drove 1 hour from Duluth to Woodstock. And when I get to his house, I get breakfast with his wife and everything's good. And then he asked me, what church you want to go? I said, like, it doesn't matter because Jesus told me that it's love, you know? So whatever religion, so whatever church is close to your house. I said, okay, let's Google it. So we Googled a church, and the first church that came was a Catholic church. It's called St. Michael the Archangel. So when we arrived to this church, the parking lot was full of cars, like hundreds of cars. And I parked, and a lady was next to me. I said, excuse me, ma'am, what's going on here today? And she said, well, what happened is this used to be a little church, but today we're inaugurating a big cathedral. So you guys came on time for the inauguration. I was like, oh, okay. So we saw the whole inauguration. It was amazing. And at the end, I go and speak with the priest and said, like, I have a testimony. If it's any way that I can tell. And said, yeah, sure. At the end, you can. So at the end of the service, I go to the stage with a microphone, get to the stage, and I start telling my story. And when I'm telling my story, half of the way of my story, 17 years old girls raise her hands. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. I need to interrupt your story. I was like, okay. Is anything wrong? He said, no, I just want to ask you a question. I said, sure, go ahead. And she said, like, how Jesus was with you. I said, he was behind me. What he was dressed in a white robe. What he was doing, he was hugging me from behind. And I said, why did you ask me this question? I said, you have to see this. So she's a skinny girl, 17 years old, black long hair. She put the hair in front of her and she turned around. When she turned around, she had a printing on the back of the chair. And the painting is an image that I have right here. I'm going to show you. It's this one. I don't know if you can see it. You see it? Okay. It's called Forgiveness by Thomas Blacher. And I said, yes, yes, that's the image. So when the church, everybody started, oh, you guys planned this, you guys did this. And I was to my friend, like, you see, this is what I want to avoid here at church. And I said, number one, I don't live in this area. Number two, I don't know this church. Number three, this is the first time that I come here. I don't know this lady. I don't know this painting. Like, no, this is a coincidence, you know? So I get off church, say goodbye to my friends. I go back 1 hour to my house. When I get to my house, I go on my computer and I Google Jesus hugging a guy. And this painting come. And it come with a story, a real story. In the year 1992, a famous painter called Thomas Blacher, he started doing this painting. And before he started doing this painting, he started doing fasting for 2 weeks. Fasting is not eating, just drinking water and praying. So after 2 weeks, he was ready to start. So he started doing the painting. And when he was half of the way of the painting, the Holy Spirit showed up and said, Thomas, you need to write a book, and you need to tell the whole world what is the meaning of this painting. I said, like the meaning of the painting? What do you mean with the meaning of the painting? He said, well, you see, in the background is dark. That's the darkness that we all humans have. In the front is the illumination that the humans have. In the hands of Jesus, you can see the love that he's grabbing us with. And you need to write all that and explain all that to people. So he wrote a book. What's the name of the book? That's called Forgiveness. And this is how my story ends. So when I was in heaven and just before it come down to earth, Jesus told me, Carlos, you need to speak with people and tell them they need to forgive. I said, who need to forgive who? And he said, well, more than 98% of people around the world have childhood trauma, and they need to forgive three people. Who's the three people? Number one, they need to forgive their parents. Why? Doesn't matter if they hit you, if they didn't like you, they abused you, they abandoned you, they did the best they could to give you the best you have. Number two, you need to forgive your inner child. Why your inner child? Because that little baby inside of you was afraid, was scared, he was shaking like, oh my God. So it's not his fault. Number three, you need to forgive all the people that came to your life and harm you. So when you forgive your parents, your inner child, and the people that harm you, you're not forgiving them. You're forgiving yourself. In that moment, you open your heart and you throw away all the hate, all the resentment, and all the poison that's been eating you for years. And in that moment, it's like you have a string with a balloon, and you cut the string and let the balloon go. You're free. And as soon as you're free, you open your heart and take out your treasure chest. And what is inside of the treasure chest? Your purpose, because everybody came to this world with a purpose. And what is your purpose? Is the thing that you love to do better than anyone. Is the thing that you know that you do better than anyone. Maybe you are a good chef, a cooker. Maybe you dance really well. Maybe you paint amazingly. Everybody have their gift. And if you don't want to do that, the biggest one is called service. Why service? Because when you die, you're not taking your house, you're not taking your Bitcoin, your money, your cars, your clothes, your titles, nothing. The only thing that you're going to take from this world is how many people you help, how many people you give food, shelter, how many people you love. What was the blueprint that you left on this planet? Look, Mother Teresa of Calcutta, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Princess Diana, Martin Luther King, what they did was service. And their service continues until today. Now, my final question is, what are you doing now to change people around you, to leave your fingerprint, your blueprint in this world? So one day when you go to heaven and they ask you, it was worthy for you to go to earth? And you say, yes, let me show you. And then you're proud for everything you did helping others. And that's my story. You like it?
I love it. Beautiful. Thank you so much for saying that. Can I go back to one thing about the
Sure,
life?
sure, sure, sure.
Because I feel like you skipped over the life review part, and you're the
Okay,
first
you want me to do it?
experience person on my
Okay,
podcast. So, like, what is that, and what happens during that?
okay. So in my life review, I didn't know. So Jesus grabbed his hand, opened his hands like this, and he started passing images like in a laptop, like in a Macintosh. So in these images, I can see since I born until my age right now. So he's showing me events that change people. So what this event was, instead of seeing myself doing stuff, for every decision that I was taking and somebody else was getting affected for my decisions, I was had to feel from the other point of view. Instead of myself, I was in the other point of view from that person. And if I hurt that person, I could feel the hurt, what I caused on that person. Jesus wasn't putting anything on me or he was judging me. I was judging myself. It's like, how in the world I did that? This is just to see a reflection of your life. Like, be careful what you say to other people. Be nice with other people. Why? Because you don't know what the cross of everybody's carrying. You can see everybody with big smiles at work, in the streets, but you don't know the burdens that these people they're going through right now, and most in these times that everybody is suffering because they need money, works, and all this. Just be nice, because you don't know when you get to that point that you have to reflect about your life. You're gonna feel every person that anything you did to them, you're gonna feel it from their point of view, and that's gonna hurt on you, you know, and you want to change that. And when he brought me back to earth, I completely changed that, because I just want to be a good person. I gonna measure my words before I speak with somebody, and trying to be the best version of myself. And I just trying to tell people, trying to be the best. Just we're like a mirrors. So whatever we see in others, we see in ourselves, and just trying to be nice. And there is I don't know if you've seen this, but there is experiment that Dr. Emoto, the guy who did the experiment with the water, and he started talking with the water, and he put like five different drops of water, and he started saying like, "I love you," and the water, he froze the water, and then a beautiful like a flower show up, like frozen flower. "I
When you
hate
look
you,"
in a
and then
microscope,
yeah, the
right? Yeah.
microscope, and then it turned red and blah, blah, blah. And he did the same experiment, and you guys can do the experiment at home. He put two jars of like mayonnaise, and in one jar empty, clean, he put rice, and I think was already cooked the rice. So in one jar he put a rice cook and say, "I love you, you are the best, you're blah blah blah," and the rice was always white and beautiful. And the other rice he said, "I hate you, I don't like you," and the rice start turning black. So this is how our words affect the material things. Imagine like water, 80 or 90% of humans were composed by water. So when you say words to another person, imagine what is that causing in that person. So be careful what you say to people, because it affects their life.
And it's not even just words, it's also thoughts. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely, 100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, just yeah, because if you start thinking bad about people, I mean, I don't know. I just after my experience, believe me, after my experience, it was hard for me because I have to. Number one, I was afraid. I didn't want to say this to anyone because a lot of people's gonna think I'm crazy. Um, Maybe I need to go to church. So let me speak with some priests. So I went to church, Catholic churches, and I tried to speak with priests, but they didn't want to talk to me about near that experience. And I was like, what's going on here? So I went three, four churches and like, they're hiding something here. So I went to Google and I Google what happened when people have accidents, what happened when people die at the hospital for cardiac arrest. So then I start finding these stories that happen to people is like out of body experience. They back and come back. There is a many forms of near death experience. My near death experience was spiritual, so I die spiritually and come back. But there are different forms of near death. It's near death. You don't die. You're near to die, and I mean it changed me a lot because it showed me that we're here to give love to others, and we're here to enjoy the ride. We're not here to enjoy the material things because this is going to disappear. And it's just putting your grain of love to this world to change the life.
Yeah. So you described some of the miracles, that little miracles and synchronicities that happened after. I remember one that you didn't touch on that I read in your book that
Uh-huh.
was about you needed $40 for something.
Oh my god, that was crazy. That was crazy. That was one of the first ones. So the $40 was uh, I was writing my manuscript for my book, right? I didn't want to write this book, okay? But I started having dreams with God, like, "Oh, you're gonna write the book." It's like, I don't want to write this book. I don't want to deal with people. I was like, "Oh, you're gonna do it?" I was like, "No, I don't want to do it." But anyways, it was so much pressure on me. I said, "Okay, I'm gonna start writing the manuscript." So I started doing the manuscript. I have a friend that he said, Carlos, I can help you because he have thousands of books in his house and he's read and read and read and read all the times. He said, I can read your book and tell you about your manuscript to see if it's good, to publish. I said, okay, cool. And he said, Carlos, me and my girlfriend, we go this afternoon to a restaurant here in Atlanta. It's a sushi restaurant. Do you want to come with us? Or when we're eating, I can start reading your manuscript. I said, sure, let's go there. But he told me, I think it was the day before. That day was Sunday. That Sunday, another family invited me to a powwow festival. I don't know if you know what is powwow. It's the Indian American festival. So they did it here in Stone Mountain. So when I go to this festival, I call the the restaurant, and I even passed through the restaurant to see what kind of restaurant was this and everything. And they said we charge $40 to get in. That's just to get in and the food to just for the little rolls. That doesn't include the drink. That doesn't include salads. That doesn't. It's like what? $40 for this? Like no. If I like rolls, those rolls, but I'm not like passionate for that. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna call my friend and say like, no, I don't want to spend $40 on that because I didn't have the $40 in that moment. So I called him and said, "Look, let's do something. Why you don't go with your girlfriend to the restaurant, and when you come out of the restaurant, we can meet Starbucks." I said, "Okay, cool." Anyway, that was the plan. I go to Powwow Festival, and when the festival ends around 6 p.m., with the friends that I went there, I'm walking out of the entrance of this festival, and it was like at the end of how do you call this? It was like November, something like that. It was fall, so the leaf was coming out of the tree, so it started blowing. The wind was start blowing, and the leaf was coming on, and then out of the sudden, this ball of paper, like somebody did a ball of paper, is coming with the wind. And everyone's, Carlos, what is the ball? I said, I don't know. Just put your foot on it. So I put my foot on it. What is that? I said, I don't know. Somebody did a ball, and that body just came from the wind. Open it to see what is inside. So I don't know what is inside. And as soon as I opened the ball, guess what it was? It was the $40. They was wrapping in a cross. They was wrapping like this, and like this. And then look at me like, oh my god, it's so creepy. Like this is so scary, Carlos. It's like, bro, I don't know what to tell you, but I guess God want me to go to the restaurant so these guys can see that. That was one of the first one. One of the second ones that happened to me was I was walking to Walmart. I don't know if you read that one. I was walking to Walmart and my sister called me. My sister is a school teacher of elementary school. And she said, Carlos, what are you doing right now? And I said, well, right now I'm going to get some groceries. And she said, and I asked her, like, what are you asking me? And she said, like, well, because when you get home, I want you to watch a movie. It's called The Letters. I said, The Letters? What letters? I said, Letters of Mother Teresa. And I said, what is it about? I said, well, Mother Teresa was receiving a lot of miracles, like you're doing it right now, but she didn't feel worth it of the miracles. I said, okay. So she feel bad and she started writing letters to God, like, why are you doing this to me? I don't deserve this. Give it to somebody else. And then when she died, they found the letters and they did the movie. I said, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, okay. When I get home, I watch the movie. So I'm walking to Walmart. The glass doors of Walmart open, and guess who's coming out? Three nuns of Mother Teresa. So I was like, oh, when they opens the door open, right? Like, oh my god. So I said, okay, you know what? I called you right back because you don't want to believe this. So I asked this lady, excuse me, are you from Mother Teresa? I said, like, yeah. Don't you see that we're dressed like Mother Teresa? I said, but are you on vacation? I said, like, no. Are you from India, Calcutta? I said, yeah. What are you doing here? I said, like, we live here. I said, you live here? Where? Mother Teresa house. Mother Teresa house. What are you talking about? And they said, well, in 1995, Mother Teresa came to Atlanta, inaugurated the Mother Teresa House. It's the missionaries of the charity in Atlanta. And they take women that are dying of cancer and AIDS terminal, and they take care of these ladies in this house. And I said, like, wow, that's amazing. And they said, well, actually, we're looking for volunteers. You want to be a volunteer? I said, sure. So they give me the address, and I go there 2 weeks later. So when I go there, I start walking to the house, a beautiful yellow house. They have angels at the entrance, statues of angels. And then they say, "Hey, Carlos, the guy from Walmart, come on." So I go outside to the garden they have. I say, "Okay, let me show you the house around the nuns." And they say, "Carlos, you cannot get inside of the house because it's for women's only, but we're going to show you behind the house. They have another little building, and they have a library. They have like a little classroom, and they have like a chapel." So they show me all that. And after that, I said, "Carlos, now Mother Superior wants to talk to you." I was like, "Oh, Mother Superior, I was starting a Catholic school, and Mother Superior was like the principal." I was like, "Oh, Lord, okay, let's go." So they take me to her office, and Mother Superior is like, "Carlos, nice to meet you. Sit down. It's a pleasure to have you here. But we don't have visitors like you here every day. So are you okay? Something happened to you?" I said, "Sure. Yes, something happened to me." So what happened? So I told the dolphin story. And when I finished the dolphin story, I said, "And this is the end of the dolphin story, the picture of Thomas Blackshire." And then she's like, "Oh my God, that picture." So she's like, "Oh my God, this is a miracle." She started praying, "Oh my God, all the nuns come here. There's a miracle." So I was like, "What's going on? It's not a miracle. What are you talking about?" And then the Mother Superior said, "Carlos, God brought you here." It's like, no, God didn't brought me here. I found these ladies at Walmart and they brought me here. That's how I get here, okay? And she said, "No, no, you don't understand. Let me open this cabinet and give you some scissors." I said, "Scissors for what?" I said, "Look behind you." So I looked behind me and there was a box. And then she said, "Open the box and see what is inside of the box." And when I cut the box, cardboard box, and I opened it, was 100 images of this on t-shirts. And I was like, "What?" And she said, "Yep, that's a signal from God." So in 2 weeks from now, we are preparing for a spiritual retreat for kids that are trying to commit suicide. They're in drugs and alcohol, and we choose that image to save these kids. And now you came out of the blue. We don't know you, and you brought the image to us. So this is a confirmation that we're in the right way. So this is just tinies of my experience, but I have a lot of experience. Actually, I'm writing 2 books right now. One is
Oh,
called "I Found Jesus in Vegas" because I really found him in Vegas. It's a real story. And number two is "Divine Miracles." So I'm working on it right now.
well, that's your second and third book because your first book is
Yes,
this one, right?
yeah.
Helping
And
Others.
believe it or not, look, like the book cover that you see right there, that was my barber. Could you believe that?
What do you mean?
Exactly. So that's another miracle. So I went to cut my hair, and my barber, out of the blue, he asked me like, "Carlos, how's your book going?" I said, "Oh, it's going good." "When you gonna publish?" "That very soon, very soon." Do you have a book cover?" It's like, "Yeah, but that's the publisher that take care of that. I said, "Yeah, but I want to recommend you somebody that's gonna do a really good book cover." So what are you talking about? I mean, this is the barber. And then, like, well, another barber here wrote a book about God, and they I said, like, what are the odds that somebody else in a barber shop is going to write a book about God? He called the guy, "Hey, come here, show Carlos your book." So someone like, "Wow, this book cover is amazing." So I asked the guy, like, "Hey, well, so where did you get this from?" I said, like, "Well, there is a guy overseas in Dominican Republic that he's a graphic designer, but he's like a pastor too, so he's doing a lot of pastor stuff right now. But he did it for me, but I don't think he's gonna do it for nobody else." I said, like, "Bro, can you call him and tell him like he can do it for me?" And then he said, "Well, let me call him. Let me give you a number." So he gave me the number. I called the guy to the Dominican Republic, and the guy said, like, "Carlos, I'm very busy right now, but if you can call me tomorrow, you need to tell me the whole story so I can pull the whole story in one picture." And 3 days later, right there, he he put the whole story in one picture. Who will believe that? And that was really amazing. And I don't know, just almost I have to go right now, but just before I go, I just want to show you this. It was really hard for me to swallow all these miracles, and I asked God. I said, "You know what? Everything has been beautiful. Everything has been amazing, but I really need something clear that you really want this book, and something clear that you want me to give this message to the world. So you need to show me something. Then out of the sudden, I go to a grocery store called Kroger here in Atlanta, and I found a friend, and he said, like, Carlos, what are you doing? Oh my God, I have a year without seeing you. Today's my birthday. Come to my house. So I go to his house for his birthday, and he invited everybody from work. I don't know anybody from his work, but his wife, his mom, his kids were there, so I stayed with them. And in the middle of the party, he said, Carlos, I want you to give me my gift. I said, yeah, what is your gift? Your story. I want you to tell the whole party your story. It's like, no, bro. I mean, come on. It's your birthday. How do you want me to tell this story here to all these people? I said, well, that's my gift, and I want my gift. I said, okay, okay. So he put chairs all over the house in a circle, and he put me in the middle. So I started telling my story. When I finish my story, I see a couple in a corner. They're crying because they get very emotional with my story. I said, okay, let me go to the corner and tell them sorry. I didn't mean for them to cry, and blah, blah, blah. So I go with them, and the guy said, Carlos, you don't know who I am. I'm one of the pastors that is doing a spiritual retreat in Atlanta that's very famous here in the United States in the Latin community. It's called MIUs, and it's called Walking with Jesus for 3 days. I was like, okay, and I need you to go. I was like, no, I'm very busy. I don't have money for that right now. I can't go. I said, like, Carlos, you don't understand. There are going to be 50 men. There are people that try to commit suicide, people with terminal cancer. I mean, soldiers that come from Iran. I mean, we have so many people that need that story. Could you please come? I mean, we're gonna pay for everything. You're gonna have to pay for anything. Please, please, please. So after he told me like several times, okay, you know what? I'm going. Well, the day that I go there, you go in a bus with from the poorest person to the richest person. It's a mix of everything. Kids, adults. I mean, kids. I mean, like 18 years old to 80 years old. And I was like, I don't want to be here. I just need to call a Uber so they have to take me out of this spiritual retreat. But guess what? When we arrived to the place, they said, well, from these 3 days, we're going to take all the cellular phones and all the watches because for 3 days, you're going to have a contact with the world. And we didn't have the contact with the world. Then the priest said, I'm going to open the heart of Jesus. I don't know if you know, in Catholic Church, they have a little, like, it's like a little house. They open it, and then they have the bread of that they give in church to everybody. So he said, as soon as I open this, miracles is going to start happening for 3 days. I was like, yeah, right. So that was me. Well, guess what? It happened. So I'm just going to tell you because I cannot tell you the story what happened on those 3 days, but I'm going to tell you what happened to me the last day. The last day, the priest said, okay, um, I want every one of you guys to ask one question to God. I'm going to bring a Bible, and you're going to put your hands on the top of the Bible. I'm going to say loud one question you want to ask to God, and tomorrow you're going to have your answers. Yeah, right. Anyways, every one of these 50 men go to the stage and start telling what they want from God, one question. When I go there, I say, okay, God, like I said before, I want a clear answer that you want me to write this book, and I want a clear answer that you want me to tell this story to these people, to everybody. So just show me something that I can see this is real. I said, okay, cool. Next day, we get breakfast, and the priest said, okay, we're going to go to a ballroom. And we go to the ballroom, and then he said, there are 50 chairs all over the ballroom. I want every one of you grab any chairs you want. So everybody get any chair they want. On the top of the chair, there is a manila envelope. I want you to put the manila envelope on your legs. So everybody put the manila envelopes on the legs. Okay, now I want you to grab the manila envelope. I start passing the whole manila envelope through the whole room. I'm going to count till 30, and you pass it left, right, back, and forth. So everybody start passing the manila envelope. And then he says, stop after 30 seconds. Okay, now put the manila envelope on your legs. I just want to let you know that manila envelope is not the same manila envelope that was there when you sit down there, because you share it to the whole room. But in that manila envelope is the answer that you've been looking for. And like I said, I was like, you're right. And guess what? When I opened the manila envelope, I don't know if you saw it before, but this is what it was on the manila envelope.
Oh my God. Just so for people who are listening and not watching on YouTube, so
Okay.
it's a bunch of children holding a book open with all these hearts coming out, and they're all standing on a world, and the book is like love is pouring out of the book.
Yes. So the
Yeah.
book is going all over the world, and people from every country is grabbing the book. From inside of the book, Jesus is coming, And
Yeah.
guiding the book is the Holy Spirit right here. You see the Holy
Oh,
Spirit?
yeah.
And yeah, Jesus is talking through the book.
That's amazing.
So at that point, I was like, okay, I'm writing the book.
The confirmation.
Confirmation. And the last one was because I didn't know anything about books. I said, okay, God, if you really want me to write the book, just put everything in front of me and I'll do it. Okay. Just put it in front of me. And a friend out of the blue invited me to this uh, master's meeting, like spiritual meetings, just men telling the stories about their families. It was like a circle, men's circle. And I went there for like about a year. And just before I stopped going to this group, the organizer of the group said, "Who want to write a book here?" So the guy who invited me for the first time grabbed my hand and said, "Like this guy right here." I was like, no. And they're like, "Yeah, come on, let me show you." And that's how I get connected to the publisher. And then they check my story and they like it. And I did it with University of Georgetown University in Washington D.C. It was a project for 1 year, and that's how that book came out.
Wow.
Yeah,
Amazing.
amazing.
Awesome. I want to respect your time. I know you have somewhere to be now.
Yes.
So thank you so much for telling your story, your amazing story, and so much love to you. And thank you again.
Well, thank you, Hillary, for inviting me to your program. Thank you for sharing this story with more people. And like I said, I'm writing more stories. I have a horror miracles. Um, and yeah, we can meet for another program. I can tell you more. All right.
Perfect. And where can people find you if they want to find you?
Well, I have two Facebook groups. My first group is called Beyond Near Death Experiences by Carlos Vivas. The second one is called Dolphins by Carlos Vivas. And I have my web page is www.helpfromheaven.org. www.helpfromheaven.org. And just little quick right here, one day that I was like, I don't know what is going to be about this book. Around 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning, a lightning came inside of my house. Blue, like the whole house turned blue, bloop, like a light. And I heard a voice saying, "The name of your book is going to be Help from Heaven." And I jump on my bed and stop. Like, what? So I like, what is this? Oh my God. So I just turned the lights and somebody in this house, somebody breaking my house. Like, what is this? And just what it came to my mind was like, I'm gonna Google this. So I Google Help from Heaven, and guess what? Just Google it. It's gonna come a video. The first thing that's gonna show up is a video. So this video, I play the video because it's the only thing that show up in Google when you put Help from Heaven. And he's an artist from UK. His name is Matt Freeman, and the song is called Help from Heaven. And in the song, God described what He did to me.
And it's a
Yeah,
song?
it's a song. Yeah, it's called
Oh,
Help from Heaven.
wow.
I describe why you drown, what's gonna happen because of the drowning, why you have a breakthrough, why God saved you. Just listen to the song called Help from Heaven.
Wow, I will. That's
I was
amazing.
crying like a baby, like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, are you kidding me?
Wow. Thank you
Yeah,
for sharing that.
yeah. But it's
Beautiful.
I don't know what to say, but this is just happening to me. I just want to share this with the world. Good
Well,
news.
thank you. Amazing. Thank you again for coming on. It's been amazing talking with
Thank
you
you.
today.
Thank you. And I wish you the best for your podcast and thank you
Thank
for what you're doing because we need more of this. Instead of be watching news that they don't leave nothing good to people, we need more of this. We need to sensibilize people. We need to touch hearts, with these stories. Not just me, there is more people that are afraid to tell these stories. It wasn't easy for me. It
you.
took me like 5 years to come out and tell what happened to me, but it's definitely worth it because you are helping more people out there. So thank you very much for what you do. God bless you.
Thank you for saying so.
Thank you.
Okay, well, have a lovely evening and thanks for listening,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.